morning. Welcome to the Sage Business Cloud Payroll webinar. The intention of this morning is to show you guys an introduction into one of our cloud-based products. It's specifically targeted towards a small segment. It is an online-based system, and it would be a quite interactive discussion. Today's webinar is divided into two sections. So first is a short presentation, where we'll just look at some definitions, terminology, as well as some legislation pieces that is quite important in the payroll world. The second section is then a demonstration in the product to show you actually how the product works from a setup perspective, starting from company right until paying your employees. I'm Rian Reineke. I'm the product manager for Sage Payroll, specifically looking after this product for Africa, Middle East. So let's start. We'll first look at company, how to add a company. This is a multi-company subscription. So if you sign up, you can have multiple companies underneath your payroll, different pay cycles. That is a frequency of paying employees. We do support monthly, bi-weekly, and weekly. From an employee perspective, we would look at capturing employee details, the rate that's the actual hours that they will work, and the rate that we will pay them. Setting up a payslip, that's quite a big discussion in terms of the four payslip component sections, that is earnings, deductions, company contributions, and fringe benefits. Medical aid, we do have companies that run the medical aid via the payroll. Bulk import employees, because you might have a system already in place and you want to import employees in bulk as opposed to capturing one by one. Advising hours, very specific where employees are paid for hours worked as opposed to getting a fixed salary each month. Basic definitions, I'll show you a section there where you can customize for basic definitions. That is what is actually showing on the basic itself. Benefit funds, that's retirement annuities, pension funds. The leave module, that is included with Sage Payroll. ICP, that is automatic clearing period, that is a mechanism to export your employees' net pay in a bank file format that you can then import into your business banking profile to release for payment on the date when the employees need to be paid. Then there's a reporting section. There's a comprehensive set of reports, but we'll look at the most important ones. Integration into Sage Business Cloud Accounting, because you do want to post your payroll data towards SPCA. Additional users, if you've got multiple users working in your organization, you can segregate your permissions so that different employees can log in to assist with your day-to-day activities of running payroll. Additional users is specifically not for giving employees access to it. That is something else, in fact. And then the help options that's available to you. But first, let's look at some definitions. Earnings. Earnings represents the cash portion of an employee's remuneration. For example, salary, overtime, commission, bonuses. Deductions. That's the items that we deduct from the earnings before we get to net pay. This will include statutory deductions such as pay as you earn and UIF, but also non-stat deductions such as loans and medical aid. Company contributions. Company contributions are contributions that the employer makes on the behalf of employees. For example, UIF, SDL, pension fund, provident, medical aid. That is typically where you would, instead of the employee paying it directly to Discovery or Momentum, you would pay it on behalf, but you would deduct it at salary. Fringe benefits. Fringe benefits are benefits given to employees in a form other than cash. These are also taxable. For example, use of company car and employee contributions to medical aid. That is a fringe benefit. UIF. The purpose of UIF is to provide short-term relief to employees when they become unemployed, employees when they are unable to work due to illness, maternity or adoption leave, or the dependence of a deceased contributor. UIF also nowadays covers for paternity leave. It is both an employer's and employee's contribution of 1% of UIF remuneration up to a max of 148.72 per month. It is paid over to SARS on the MP 201 return together with your pay as you earn and SDL. Employers are also required to furnish a UIF with details of all the employees every month, irrespective of whether they are contributors or non-contributors of UIF. Please, guys, do pay UIF. If you are required to pay UIF, do pay it over. What we did see this year is specifically with the TERS fund. TERS was a temporary employee relief fund that government used the UIF fund to assist the small sector, to assist companies with remunerating the employees where the employees could not pay salaries out due to COVID-19. But what did happen was some employers did not pay UIF. And then they wanted to claim the TERS from TERS. TERS just said, because you didn't contribute to UIF, you're not able to claim. That's just something to keep in mind. Skills Development Act and levies. The purpose of the SDL is to develop the skills of the South African workforce. If you are not registered with SARS, the levy will be paid over directly to the applicable SETA. If you are registered with SARS, you will pay it over on the EMP 201 return together with your pay as you earn and UIF. It is only an employer's contribution of 1% of the balance of remuneration. If you provide training and you report it in the training in the skills reports required by your SETA, you can claim back a portion of the levies paid. So you can actually use portions of SDL. It allows you, because you pay SDL, you can send to employees on training, given that it falls within the SETA that you fall under. Employment tax incentive. The purpose of the ETI is to encourage employers to hire young and less experienced work seekers. It reduces the cost of employers of hiring young people through a cost-sharing mechanism of government. In practical terms, it means that the employer, you, will receive an incentive for employing the youth, subject to very certain conditions, in the form of reduced monthly tax liability. Please, in the system, if you do employ young and less experienced work seekers, make very sure that you do your ETI setup correctly. Otherwise, when you get to the monthly submission, or specifically the mid-year, EMP 501, you will get fined. SARS is very strict in terms of the definitions that define how ETI actually qualifies. On a monthly basis, you need to declare your EMP 201. The EMP 201 is Employer Payment Declaration that requires employers to indicate the total payment made, and it's a breakdown of employees' tax, SDL, UIF, and ETI for the period. The EMP 201 return must be completed and submitted online each month using SARS Easy Filing. Given that we are not tax practitioners, we are not allowed to give you advice in terms of when that is, but do Google. It is typically by the 7th of the following month. But you need to do that on a monthly basis. That's the EMP 201. I'll also show you in the system where you get the EMP 201. And then we look at the EMP 501, which is either the interim or annual employee reconciliation. The interim EMP 501 reconciliation declaration must be submitted to start reconciling tax, SDL, UIF, and ETI from March to August. This is typically due at the end of October. At the end of a tax year, employees must prepare and submit their annual EMP 501 reconciliation declarations. And with the tax year, we would issue the tax certificates. This is typically due at the end of May. We would issue an RP5 tax certificate if we did deduct tax. Otherwise, it's an IT3A certificate if no employee tax were deducted. It's both the same form. It is termed RP5/IT3A. And then we'll look into the demo. First of all, if you want to sign up, if you haven't signed up yet, browse to sage.com EN0. It will take you automatically towards one of these pages. But under the product side, we've got Sage Payroll. You can either sign up directly, or you can sign up for a 30-day no obligation free trial. Typically, from a monthly perspective, it is 61 Rand for 2 employees per month. We keep it updated. It includes all the updates, unlimited companies, unlimited users, and you only pay for active employees based on the bracket that you're in. So we support multiple brackets, 2, 5, 10, above 60. You can also sign up on the e-store. I've already logged in this morning. Typically on the landing page, what you would see, on the left-hand side, we support multiple companies. I've got 2 companies, construction company, and a support company for the construction company. But you can have multiples. So let's add a company. That is typically step 1. Add company. Give it a unique number. Now I'm just going to call it a cleaning company. Oh, I've already taken it. Clean it. Oh, let's start a cleaning company. Cycle name, I'm going to do weekly wages. And by cycle, that is a by frequency. So you can either pay the employees monthly, weekly, or bi-weekly. If you do it weekly, it would then firstly ask you what is your last day of the first pay period. And I would say, well, my last pay day for my first pay period would be this coming Friday. Given that this is a weekly pay cycle, Sage also allows you to specify your tax start date for this cycle based on the suggestions. It can either be 7 days before, 7 days afterwards, and then click on finish. Automatically then take you to the company setup screen where you would capture all your company details. During today's demo, I would much rather not just show you what I can type, but explain more interesting stuff for you. So if you look at the company that I've already set up, my construction company. On the left-hand side, you would see the dashboard, where we would typically, if we want to inform you about interesting stuff, we would post notifications, support notifications. Like at the moment, we've got complimentary e-learning because it's Christmas season that's up and coming. We've got an advisor program, specifically an accountant or tax practitioner in practice. You can sign up for the advisor program. And throughout the year, we typically put notices there. This company, the construction company, I've got 7 active employees, and I'm currently in October 2020. Look at the middle section. We've got various steps that we would go through each month to run payroll. Step 1 is setting up a company. We've already added the company, but let's look at company details. Under company details to the right-hand side, we've got, we can upload a logo, so you can print the logo on your payslips, and then capture the company details. Name, company registration number, your tax reference number, SDL, UIF details, your standard industry classification. If you were registered with SARS on or before 25th of March, physical address, postal address, SARS contact person, UIF contact person. The next interesting section would be then, now that I've got a company, I've got to pay frequency. This is a monthly company. So I've got monthly employees, is to look at my list of employees. On the left-hand side at the moment, I've got 7 employees, and there's 2 mechanisms to add employees into the system. I can either add them manually, meaning one by one, by going to add an employee, and then capturing all the details, which is quite frightening. There's lots of details to capture, and I actually just want to get to showing you guys how to capture a payslip. There's another mechanism that you can actually go to data take on. Given that I might have a different system where my employee data is already captured, I can create a file using Sage Payroll that would then give me an Excel spreadsheet, capture the data in the spreadsheet, and then import the data as I've got my employee data ready. Doing a data take on it is as follows. First, create a template. Employee details, you can either do employees or the employee financial data. And then on the left-hand side, I've got the available fields. So you can build your own template based on the data that you might have available. So let's say I've got his title, initials, first name. I've got his second name, ID number, and I've got his unit number. I go to the bottom, I've got his RP5 star and his salary. As you can see to the right hand side, I've got then the column selected. Clicking on create file would then give me instructions as well as an example. Go to Excel. Show you that. It then shows you exactly the data that you selected. There's the columns that we selected. There's some mandatory data, but also the columns that you selected to populate. Second tab is instructions, and the third tab is exactly how you need to populate this field. Once you've populated it, we can now import the data. So import data, employee details. I will select the file that I've already prepared for today's discussion, 30 November. Next step is to import the file, where it will show the file has been successfully imported. Then you need to verify it, so it's been uploaded to our site. You need to verify it to make sure that yes, these employees should belong to the construction company. I've got 2 employees here, Christopher Cameron, Megan Abrams. Verify the file. File has been verified, and then process. Now at this point in time, it would actually confirm that, are you very sure you want to process it? because at this point in time, it would go and create the employees for you. See the file. The file has been processed successfully. So now go back to my employee list for details. To the bottom, we've imported Megan Abrams, Christopher Cameron. The reason why there's two red triangles is specifically if I look at Megan, there's some missing information still that we need to capture for the RP5 tax certificates. If I click on RP5 validations, it will show me we still need to capture the postal address, because there's, from a tax certificate, there's various information that's mandatory to capture, and we'll just default it towards the postal address. Let's work with Megan Abrams this morning. So the first tab for Megan is the personal details. It's a personal, but you can either have Megan as a person or personal service provider, whether it's a company, close corporation, or trust, but let's keep her as a person. Employee code, first name, last name, known as, her ID number, which we also validate, and a date of birth, and at this stage she's 43. Scroll to the bottom, physical address, postal address, which can default to physical, work address, which you can default to physical or company address, but instead I actually imported it via the file. Contact details to the right hand side, emergency contact details that you can specify, and then always employ various mechanisms to pay her. We support cash, check, electronic transfer, which is a manual EFT if you want to do it manually, ACB, which we'll discuss a bit later in this demo, and net cash, which is a similar mechanism, which used to be the old Sage Pay. So let's pay her cash. This employee started working on the 1st of October, as an architect. And we can segregate our employees between departments and pay points. So architect, we're going to put in engineering. And we can pay her from Joburg. Department and pay point can then also be used on the reporting side. If the employee works outside of South Africa, you can tick this one. There's various mechanisms of setting up a tax. We want to tax this employee according to the statutory tables. There's additional ones as well that you can set up if it's applicable to this employee. RP5 start date, she started the 1st of October, that would be the RP5 start date. And then there's different individual tax settings you can do towards the bottom of this section. If I press save, if you want to capture a picture, you can capture the employee's picture to the circle. The next tab, hours and rates. Top section is hours that an employee will typically work per day, and the bottom section is the salary that the employee will receive. So let's make this employee work 7 hours a day, but only 4 days per week. And as you can see, it will adjust it automatically. From a salary perspective, let's give her 10,000 per month, and it will adjust it up and down. If this employee will not get a fixed salary, but will only get paid for the hours worked, then you will advise hours. We would look at Christopher. Let's set Christopher up like that. ETI, that is employee tax incentive. This section will assist you to set up ETI. If this employee qualifies for ETI, please go research ETI thoroughly before you do set it up. In fact, this employee will not qualify because she's already too old to qualify for ETI. Then on the payslip side, this is the crux of the demonstration. Payslip is always divided into 4 key sections: earnings, deductions, company contributions, and fringe benefits. The moment we've got an earning which is basic salary, that is derived from hours and rates. We can give them additional earnings, like let's give a commission. And I can give a commission of, say, 1,500 for 2 months. Or I can do it every month. For specific month, she worked overtime as well, so we can do overtime 1.5 or overtime 2.0. Let's give us some extra overtime hours. Let's do 10 hours overtime. And if I go back to the page, you would see the earnings section shows all the earnings. And as we continue, the tax would be automatically calculated, as well as the UIF contribution that this employee will pay. SDL is a company contribution, so it will affect on the employee's payslip, but it is the employer that will actually pay it. Let's say I've got a specific earning that from this list, you can only see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different earnings. Sage Payroll comes predefined with over 140 different payslip definitions that you can use. To make it easier, we limit the amount that is by default visible, but you can go and enable it if this is applicable. Because typically you don't want to end up with a list of all 140, because then you always struggle to select the correct ones. So if I go to company, global payslip definitions. In this section, it would show you the full list of payslip definitions that you can use according to SARS, all pre-populated with the correct RP5 codes. Look at this column, RP5 codes. If you want to, let's look at on one spot, duplicating a specific one, and then after you've cloned it, rename it. After annual bonus, and I want to duplicate it. And instead of calling it annual bonus, it is linked to 3605. I will call it the November bonus. Internally, on reports, I would call it November bonus exceptional performance. Exceptional performance. And on the employee payslip, let's call it the surprise bonus. Now, if I click save, it would then ask me, do you want to use it for your salaries or for your wages cycle? So let's link it to salaries because we're currently working with monthly employees. It has now been added and made available to the cycle linked to salaries. So there you can see we've got November bonus as well. So if it's not available in this list, you can either add it by selecting from this list. So let's add in severance pay. Or you can remove it as well. Customize your template for the available definitions for this set of employees. Now let's go back and calculate the bonus towards Megan. So if we go to Payslip, let's give her the November bonus. And the reason I did a cloned annual bonus is because on annual bonus, you can even provision the tax. So we can say I want to pay a manual bonus, or I want to go 13th check. If I wanted, let's do a manual bonus of 25,000, and I want to pay the bonus in October. I'm specifically selecting October so that we can look at the October payslip. But you can set it up in advance if you want to do it that way around. You can also provision the tax. You can provision it, now provision when all the tax would be in that specific month, the month that the bonus is paid, or you can even provision the tax to the end of a tax year. You want to be a very kind employer. Let's go back to the payslip. So now internally it prefers November bonus of 25,000. And it also recalculated the tax correctly. Let's add some deductions. This employee took a loan of, let's make it 1,500, and she's going to pay it back in installments of 150 a month. The system will then keep track of 1,500 minus 150 per month, and then it will reflect as a deduction until you get to 0. Similar way you can load additional deductions. Company contributions. Let's add a provident fund. We don't have provident yet. Moses. Megan. From a company contribution perspective, provident, pension, or retirement annuity. I've already set up a provident fund. It's called Discovery Invest. She joined 1 October, so it would be from 1 October. And it is at 10% of basic salary. Her basic salary for Megan is 10,000. So there's a deduction of 1,000 Rand for provident. You can either set it up as a company contribution if employee will pay it. In this instance, if I look at the way that this benefit fund is set up, the employee will pay it himself. That's why it's reflecting as a deduction. It can go both ways around. So under benefit funds, you can set up multiple benefit funds. So I've got Discovery Invest. And as you can see, I've set it up as an employee contribution, not a company contribution. But there's various ways to set up your pension and provident fund, depending on how you want to run it for your company. If we look at Christopher, we only want to pay him for the hours worked. So we would specifically select advise hours, click on save. So when I get to the payslip, it will show me 0 because I need to capture the hours that I want to pay Christopher for this month. So let's say he worked 150 hours. And that's how you get to capture if it's not a fixed salary but variable, specifically on hours worked. Commission, etc. That would be the same. Let's give Christopher medical aid. Medical aid is set up on a separate tab. So from a medical aid perspective, just go to October. You joined in October. So we support company and private medical aid. If you do go to company medical aid, you can capture the amount of beneficiaries. So Let's do 2 beneficiaries. And then you can also split it as an employee contribution or a company contribution. Let's do company contribution of 1250. If I press save and go back to the payslip to see how the payslip is looking now, it added medical as a company contribution and a fringe benefit. If you want to have it as an employee contribution or employee and company contribution, you can just set it up differently, then it will reflect the deduction that the employee will pay himself as well. Company contribution, there's different options there, or additional fringe benefits. Let's give him use of an asset, 1,000 rand for every month. Once you've set up your employee, let's just go to Moses because he's got a bit more information already. Once you've completed your employee setup, you can view the tax calculation. Sometimes employees do ask, but how do you get to the amount of tax that I need to pay? Click on View Tax Calc, and it shows you exactly how the system gets to the tax payable for this period. South Africa is running on a year-to-date tax calculation, so it will always be your taxable earnings for the year, and then it will get cut down to the period, and then apply the medical aid tax credit for this employee, and then the tax due. So that when you get to the end of a tax year, your employees would have paid their tax correctly. So view the tax rates, as SARS updates it once a year, and typically in Feb, we do update the system automatically, and it reflects in the system. You can email it out to the employee from this view, or you can download it as a PDF, which should open automatically. We would look at the PDF. We would look at the payslip in detail under the reporting section, because at that section, you can actually email it out in bulk as well. But it's a stock standard payslip. Earnings, deductions, company contributions, fringe benefits, and the leave module, which we'll get to. Private retirement annuity. If you want to capture the retirement annuity that employees pay in the private capacity, you can do that via this section as well. We looked at medical aid. And there you will see that all the transactions loaded for this employee based on the different sections: earnings, deductions, company contributions, fringe benefits, and then the system generated ones: SDL, UIF, balance of remuneration. ETI, this employee does not qualify for it because he's above it. And there is a provision for tax on annual bonus, because we gave him an annual bonus as well. In this section, you can see the year-to-date details. We'll get to some of these questions in a bit, guys. I think we'll do a bit of a Q&A towards the end, because there's loads that I want to show you guys today. I promise we'll get to some of these questions. Year-to-date values, where you can see for the full tax year model at the moment we're in October, November, and towards the right it scrolls towards Jan, Feb, and then the total year-to-date values. Leave, If you need to end your employee, end employment leave, that is the next section of this discussion. There's always two sections to leave. The first one is setting it up and setting up your leave policies. And the second section is allocating and capturing leave transactions. Company leave setup. First set time, it will ask you to tick there, use this leave margin in this company. There's no additional cost. We do cater for the full BCEI leave types, which is annual sick leave, family, maternity, parental, adoption, commissioning parental leave, and study leave, which is an optional one that you can allocate. But we are fully BCEI compliant. If we look at one of these leave policies, default entitlement value per employee, to the right-hand side, you can exceed. Can this employee apply for leave by exceeding it? Typically, sick leave, we would request a note. So that's an option. You can set it up. After how many days, can exceed it. That's all depending on your company's leave policies. So once you've completed the leave setup, under employee, let's give Dwayne Adams some maternity leave. Look at leave. This is where you'll see the current balances for Dwayne. His annual leave balance. Sick leave, typically just tracking for the 30 days for 30 days for every 3 years. Family responsibility. Maternity, he does not get maternity leave. But let's give him some leave just for interesting sake. Parental leave. He's going on parental leave from the 19th of October till the 23rd. 5 days. He can also go to 1.5 days if you want to adjust it. And there's a leave transaction captured successfully. There's also leave history where you can see the leave history. And typically this was a rollover from his annual day of, his join date. And there you will see that the sick leave balance transferred. He took another sick leave transaction in October, annual leave, parental leave, and that is the leave module. That is the biggest section where you guys need to focus is employees. And we mostly covered the first section of payroll up to there, the section we covered. From ICB setup, ICB is the automatic clearing bureau. It includes two sections. One is setting up what your bank account details is. I'm, for example, with FNB Online Enterprises. This is my bank details. And then if I go to export, I can generate the November salaries in a file format that FNB Online Enterprises can import to release the salaries based on the payment action date. So I want to pay my employees on the 25th. If I go to process, it would then show me these are the employees that are included in this file. And to the right-hand side, that's the net salaries that will be paid on the 25th using my bank account. Download, it will give you a file fnbobe.full, which I cannot open because it's specific their file format, but FNB Business Banking can open it up. You can also export this to PDF if you want to store it. There's that file. Similar, we've got net cash. That is an integration into Sage Pay. The old previous Sage Pay that was rebranded net cash. If you made a mistake, you can roll back to the previous processing period, rolling forward to the next one. We would look towards the end once we've done everything we needed to do for this month. Accounting integration. Sage Payroll can integrate into Sage Business Cloud Accounting, which allows you to post your payroll information as journal entries towards Sage Business Cloud Accounting. It's a two-step approach again. The first one is an integration setup of what your accounting subscription detail is. So I've got a subscription. You can integrate into multiple companies because you can, the accounting product also allows for multiple companies. And this is always where the fun section of a demo comes. For each payslip definition, map your payslip definition towards the correct debit and credit account. Now, I'm working on the payroll side. I don't have an understanding of accounting, which is always fun because typically when we've got the privilege of sitting in front and doing this presentation in front of an audience, a live audience, I would nitpick on accountants and I would pick on, but how should we set it up? And accountants get involved, if you're an employer and you are running your payroll, get the accountant to assist you with setting this up. The first time you need to set this up correctly. Now I've linked quite a few additional definitions in this demo today, so let's just do that. So you would just pick the correct one. And everything needs to be mapped correctly before you can post the journals towards Sage Accounting. Let's just see. There's another one missing. Oh, I gave someone an asset as well. I will take it from telephone expenses and I'll put it towards depreciation. Once you get it saved successfully, you've completed the integration setup between SBCP and SBCA. The next step is to go to integration and view your journal in. After you've completed your payroll, you've paid your employees, you would want to send your payroll data towards Sage Accounting. As you can see, I haven't integrated or posted any of my journals so far. So let's post April. Step one is to generate the report. This section, it will generate the report of all the high-level summary of what journals will be affected with this posting. It will show you this is how it will be affected. We've debited these accounts, we're going to credit these accounts. There's a detailed audit report as well, how it's going to affect it. I have checked the audit report and wants to post the journals. Tick. And then post. At this point in time, it would electronically transfer the payroll data based on this audit report towards journal entries. Please log into Sage Accounting to view your journal. And there I've integrated the payroll data towards Sage Accounting. But as you can imagine, you need assistance if you do not understand the accounting side. And that is the accounting setup. Reports. Let's look at reports. So on the left-hand side, we've got quite a few reporting sections available. Payslip, financial, leave, employee, company, audit, tax recon. And specifically this year, we built in the COVID-19 TERS export, which as soon as government stops the TERS fund, that section will be removed out of the system. Let's start with Payslip because that's quite a cool one. Payslip is two different options. For one is secure Payslip stationery. That's that old dot matrix one, so it goes all grrr. That's secure Payslip. If you want to purchase the Payslip stationery from us, we do sell paper. Otherwise, you can go for current Payslip, plain paper Payslip. Let's first look at a preview and then see how you can customize it. My current Payslip shows the logo, the pay date as the 31st of October, the pay period, pay frequency, employee's details, his title, his ID number, department pay point, his tax number, his rate per hour, earnings, deductions, company contributions, fringe benefits, and then the year-to-date totals. To the bottom, we've got the leave, opening balance for this period, accrued, taken, closing balance. And you can put a message on this as well, which we'll show you, which we'll look at just now. Customizing the Payslip is possible as follows. I've got 9 employees over here. You can sort them by department or pay point. You can change the date. So we are going to pay them on the 25th. I don't want to show the frequency, so let's take the frequency off. From additional employee fields, it's this middle section. We can pick, let's say I don't want to print the ID number anymore, and I don't want to print the date engaged. And the tax number I don't want to print on. But I want to print the banking information. So we can tweak that, what we print. Rate, moment it's rate per hour. Let's print it rate per day. And in this bottom section, the deductions I want to show as company contributions. Let's just show totals and not the details. Company contributions are all I want to show the totals. Instead of listing each one individually, I want to show the totals for both of them. And for some reason, I don't want to print the year-to-date totals. Do not print year-to-date totals. From leave, I want to, instead of showing everything, I do not want to show accrued for this period. I can take accrued out, and I can print a cute message on the payslip. Have a great December holiday. Now let's look how it changed. Pay date is now the 25th. Pay frequency is out. The ID number is out. The tax number is out. It's now rate per day, not rate per hour. The employee's bank details is now on the payslip. For company contributions, we're only showing the totals and not the details. Fringe benefit totals, not details. And year to date is now out. We've also removed the accrued column and added a message to the payslip. That is how you can customize the payslip. There's various options how you can customize it. One thing that you can also do at this point in time is email it out. Clicking on the email message, that envelope, will show you all the employees with their email addresses captured. Password protected, varies the password format. Unfortunately, at this stage, you can't yet change it, but in the future, we will give you the ability to have employees have their own password format. If I click on send payslips, it will then distribute PDFs, an email with PDF to all of these employees basis were successfully emailed to the following employees, given that I've captured the employees with their email addresses. What you would see is someone, for example, if your employees don't have email addresses, what you can also do is you can just print it out and file it in envelopes like some HR practitioners need to do. That is a payslip. Under financial, there's quite a few reports. Unfortunately, we can't look at everything, but let's look at some ones. Net pay list. We have got a net pay list for all my employees showing the different pay mechanisms. Some are ICB, some are cash, and summary towards the bottom. EMP 201. On a monthly basis, you need to print out the EMP 201 and use this report to capture it under easy filing. It's not an direct integration to easy filing, but this is the EMP 201 that you would use to capture EMP 201 return declaration on a monthly basis. There it also reflects the ETI amount that you can claim back for Jennifer because she does qualify for ETI, as well as Sarah Jones. All the reports are exportable in different formats. If we look at leave reports, employee leave transactions, you can look at a specific period or all transactions. I'm just going to show you all the transactions. So we've got some interesting data. We've grouped it per employee, and then I've got the different employee types as well. Transactions I took: annual sick, parental sick, study, maternity. Jennifer was on maternity leave here for 22 days. In our report to look at is specifically sick leave abuse. All transactions again. Sick leave, we do monitor leave taken on a Monday or a Friday next to a public holiday, as well as more than 2 transactions in an 8-week period, as shown here. Taking a public holiday, leave on a Friday, leave on a Monday, and then sick leave transaction number 2 in an 8-week period. So you can closely monitor your employees capturing sick leave or applying for sick leave and trying to abuse it. Then next section is employees. An employee list, class of employees. There's an employee list. I've also got a new employee form. That is the form that employees will typically complete when they join your company. Under company, I've got a report to show you how you've configured your leave. This is explaining exactly how your leave setup is configured. And then audit log is the one showing every single change that happens in the system. So if I just look at what we've done this morning so far, just during the last hour, this report shows exactly 6 pages of changes that we've made. Working hours got changed, basic salary got changed, I've added SDL to payslip for Abrams. So this you can use for investigation to see if, when something got changes, why it got changes, who did it, a full audit log of the report. And then employee tax recon will get to 501, will get to the tax certificate section. That is the reports. There's temporary employee relief scheme. That was because of COVID-19. On a monthly basis, you also need to declare tax certificates. On a biannual basis, you would need to submit your tax certificate. That is your EMP 501 Employee Reconciliation Declaration. So I'm in 2021. Tax certificate. Tax certificate. Okay. On a biannual basis, you need to do the EMP 501 submission, let's just go to a different screen first. Do I have declaration? Tax certificates. So for your mid-year submission or tax year end submission, you would need to come in and do the tax submissions. That's the EMP 501. Currently we're in 2021 tax year. So you can only do your mid-year up to this point in time. I will do a live submission and then create the submission. You have already processed this because we do this webinars demos quite often. And I will just need to import the latest file that it generates. So what it would then do is it will calculate it all for me. And as you can see, I've got the mid_2023. Quickly show you guys that one. Oh. Okay. This is a text file that you would upload into Easy Filing. There you've also got your tax certificate is not generated because it's mid-year, it's not tax year end. But you've also got your EMP 501, reconciliation report, reconciling March to August. And if there's any errors, it will show you there's no errors. That is the tax certificates. I'm going to go slightly faster so we can answer some questions as well. Additional users. Additional users is where you've got your accountant assisting you, you've got a payroll advisor assisting you. We do not charge for additional users. You can give him access, a link to the help file even. Peter Parker is my accountant, and he is allowed to only work on my monthly employees. He's not allowed access to my construction or my cleaning company. You've also got the ability, so we have got Sam Ann, and she's also my accountant, but she's the one for the cleaning company. And they will then get an email to notify them that they can log into the system. And we have got a payroll administrator, and Sarah can actually assist. She can manage this section, payslip definitions and payslip templates for all my payroll companies. I'm not logged in yet. Data take-on we did look at, that is the import of your employee fixed or financial information. Then, after you have processed your employees, you've captured the leave, you have paid them using ACP, you have printed your EMP 201, you integrated your data towards Sage Accounting, you need to roll over. Roll over means I've completed all my processing for October. I now want to go over to November. I can click on roll over. It will then ask me for the specific cycle. So I'm busy with the construction company, the monthly employees. Do you want to roll over to November? this will be included in your October 2020 invoice. And then you can roll over. You have successfully rolled over to November. So now I'm in November 2020. Got 9 active employees. We added 2 in this demo. And you would do the exact same process again. The system persists previous month's data, so you can just tweak the payslips as and when necessary, capture leave transactions, print the MP201, integrate into Sage Business Cloud Accounting, send your data to the business banking so that you can pay employees, and then you'll roll over. So that is a payroll process from quick start to end of a payroll process. You can also see all the different links there at the bottom to assist you via this process. Your help options. Let's quickly look at help options. Sage City is our global platform where we've got a landing page for all the different resources linked to Sage Payroll for Africa. And where we've got a knowledge base, we've got an in-app bot where my internet connection is giving issues, unfortunately, at this stage, where you can ask Beck a question. Beck will then try to answer you. The bot, you're not allowed to call it an him or she or an it, but the bot is getting better at answering questions. You've also got the ability to email us a support query. Come back within 1 business day. If you do need assistance, there's the possibility to grant the support consultant access to your account. Anything that they do is logged and traced, and access is automatically reverted within 72 hours. So that is typically where, if you really get into a big mess, the support consultants can assist you in terms of giving you access to that. Then if you look at manage accounts, the business information that you want to reflect on your tax invoice that we would send you, your subscription details. If you want to upgrade or downgrade, so let's say my company is growing at the moment, I've got the ability to employ 20 employees, but I want to grow my company, I want 40 employees. You can then submit a request and it will upgrade your employee bracket to 31 to 40 employees, which would then be 976 per month. You can only downgrade to a lower bracket if your current active employee count is less than your employee bracket that you're on, meaning there at the moment I can see I've got 9 active employees on my subscription. So it takes everything into consideration between the different companies. You get 1 invoice at a subscription level. And there's also a link to Sage City, where we've got quite an active community of advisors, our support consultants on a daily basis, actively posting content for you guys to assist you, and a monthly newsflash to give you information. Let's get to some of the questions. I have a staff member that works for several employers. She receives 3 different RP5 certificates. The UIF exceeds the ceiling amount of 148.72 per month when all the different employers are considered. I've excluded her from paying UIF with one of employers, but this gives me an exception every measure every time should this be handled. Shelley, it's the UIF contribution is per employer, so it's not, in fact, you can't exclude it. She needs to actually pay that. That's why specifically why I'm getting that. If my employee is getting income from 2 sources, how do I manage change the tax rates to account for additional source? Your employer would then, the employee would, because she's getting income from 2 different sources, she would need 2 RP5 certificates. You need to reflect it differently. Then I'll explain how I add monthly employees and weekly employees on the same platform. Annette, let me quickly show you that one. So on my construction company, I've got monthly employees, but I can add a different pay cycle for my weekly employees. Let's call it weekly wages. Weekly. And my first pay week would be 6th of November. And this is commission, let's call it commission earners. Let's be naughty. Commission earners. Because I've got a group of commission earners, and I'm only going to add commission earners to the cycle, I can exclude them from UIF. Given that commission earners are excluded from UIF. And then I can actually add employees that are commission earners. Let's quickly add one manually. To add employee manually, there's some information that you need to capture it. There's 5 fields. Let's make him. He was born in 1990, July 25th. Okay, I don't need to capture anything. I'm going to pay him cash. This employee started working on, I am now in 6th November. So he started on 1st of November. And I'm going to, you can put in some stat tables. That would be all fine. Next. Because he is not going to, he's only going to get commission, we will keep it at 0. And there I've got, I go to Payslip, wage 0 because it's a wage earner. So if I go back to my dashboard, the company dashboard, we've got monthly and weekly. You can add multiple pay cycles, so you can even have more than one monthly, even if you want to segregate to that extent. If I look at net, that was a net question. Can we get a copy of today's presentation or a link to the recording? Yes, we would send out afterwards. You'll get an email with a link to the webinar. Does the payroll cycle data automatically back up before rollover? Yes, it does automatically save the data. One thing that you need to be aware of is if you roll back, you do lose the change that you made for that period. So we can't roll you back to a specific point in time. It is roll forward or roll back, and yes, we do save the data, but you would go back to, you would need to reprocess the specific month that you rolled back to. So if I roll back at this point in time, I would need to redo everything that I've done in this demo today. I think that is about all the questions. Thanks. Thanks, Julian. Guys, thank you so much. This is it's an interesting mechanism of explaining the system, specifically without having the ability to interact with you, asking you guys questions in real time. I do hope this was a valuable session. The recording would be available. Please, I honestly beg you, go to this page. So from in-app, the question mark. The question mark takes you through to the global resources page where there's multiple links. Sage University, there's free online training on there. We've got a mid-year center, we've got a tax year-end center, we've got documentation. There's Sage Knowledge Base, where you can ask questions specifically on this product. How do I add a payslip definition? Payslip definition. And there it would give you various different explanations. How to zero out my payslip, how to add a company contribution. We're really doing everything to consolidate and give you guys one starting point, but there's different platforms. If you've got other products, this specifically was Sage Business Life Payroll, similar sense there's a knowledge base for the other products as well. And if there aren't any other questions, I think, Ria, that's a wrap. Thanks, everyone. Have a very nice day.